I want to ask two questions today. Whose church is it and where is the church? We know that we're the people of God. We're the church of God. We're the brick and mortar that God makes His church. But I'm concerned about the state of the church today. Not just the church here in Pillahatchee, but the Big C church even, the church as a whole. I don't know if you're aware of this, but church attendance in the United States of America is declining at a drastic rate. Young people are walking away from the church in droves. We've seen that less than 20% of Americans now regularly attend church. That is because today, in our churches today, people are looking for churches not for what they can do for the church, for the Lord's church, not how they can serve the church, but what the church can do for them. We've created a very church consumer culture, and I think they're really on to something. I've been a pastor for over 30 years now, and I'm telling you, times have changed. And now, more than ever before, we are living in a time of what I might call me church. Me church. It's no longer what can I do for the Lord, but what's He going to do for me?
Imagine a church where every member is passionately, wholeheartedly, and recklessly calling the shots.
I have a busy work week, and by the time Sunday rolls around, I'm tired. So how about a church service that starts when I get there?
Can do. When you arrive, we begin.
This guy, he plays by his own rules. We want to find a church where if he starts screaming, we're not the bad guys, right? Come here.
Say no more. If your baby's screaming, you stay seated. The others around you can leave.
You know, financially, Sherry and I don't give a lot to the church, but we'd sure like to know who does.
All right, if you join now, you'll know what every person gives in detail.
When I'm in the church service, can my car get a buff and a wax?
Not just that, but an oil change and a tune-up.
Hey, how about tickets to the Super Bowl?
That's asking too much.
I'm serious. If I'm going to join, I want tickets to the big game.
All right, you join now and we'll get you there.
I like a pony.
Look in your backyard. Me Church, where it's all about you.
Well, of course, that's done with satire and a little bit of humor, but there's some truth behind it. A lot of people today, when they are trying to determine where they're going to join or go to church, it's really for pretty selfish attitudes. We all are guilty of doing that. Because for some reason, we think that it's our church. It's my church. I hear that phrase, and I've even used that phrase myself. I have said, well, now at my church we do this, at my church we do that, or down at our church, and I've used that phrase all the time because we've just come off a series about how words matter, how they're important, and the things that we say and how we say them mean so much. And I'm telling you, there's two words that we need to extinguish from our vocabulary because I think it has affected our churches and the way we view things. And that is this phrase, my church. But maybe it's time to rethink some of these things. Maybe it's really time that we really think about what we're saying because words matter. And you say, what are you talking about, Brother Guy? Well, let me just show you from Scripture because I don't want you thinking these are my thoughts, my philosophies this morning. I don't want you to think that I've gotten this from somebody, a great preacher, somebody else. I want you to understand how Jesus views His church and what He said about this issue. It's not about what you think about this matter. It's not about what I think about this matter. It's about what God thinks. So what does God say about this matter? And He has plenty to say. In Matthew chapter 16:18, after Peter made his great confession, his great confession of faith, the Lord looked at Peter and said these famous words, and I say to you that you are Peter, and on this rock, and notice this, on you, Peter, this rock, I, referring to Jesus, will build. Not you will build. Not some preacher will build, not some evangelist will build, but Jesus said, I, Jesus, will build what? My church. Now, he's not talking about my church, your church. He's talking about whose church? His church. He said, I'm going to build my church. In that passage, Jesus is saying, it's my church. I'm the one who owns the church. I'm the one who will build the church. Not you, not the preacher, not the deacon, not the teacher. I, Jesus, will build the church. I don't want to be a part of the church that you and I build. I want to be a part of a church that Jesus builds by His Spirit. And I want to be a part of the church that belongs to Him, not a church that thinks they own it. Because I love His church. I don't want to love my church. Because, boy, if I built the church, it would be all messed up. It would be a mess. I want to build His church. I mean, I want to see Jesus build His church. So you got to really watch what you say. I love His church. I want this ingrained in your mind. Oh, Lord, it's your church. It's not my church. It's your church. Now, what am I supposed to do in your church? Not what's your church supposed to do for me, Lord, but what am I supposed to do for your church?